The following video is going to use the name of Airestech or Airestech. I won't say Airestech. Lifetune Flex stickers, amulets, etc. As an example. This will be an example of stuff that I'm going to be doing a video that competes with. I'm a competitor. How to RF proof your life in such a way that it actually does what it says on the tin, as they say in Britain. Now, this is going to be actually how to do it, and one of the funny things is me doing a review of their product and saying it's garbage or something will get less of a negative reaction than me telling you how not to give them money in the first place and do it yourself. All right, here we go. A notch filter is built by making it to where if you have a signal you want to pass a point, you have a upper band filter for whatever the lowest frequency of the signal is. Let's say it's your power line. Let's say it's 40 cycles a second to 60 or 70 cycles a second for the power line AC signal. Let's do that. So you'd make it to where you have it kill everything off that's really deep bass on your transmission that you're having come into your house that's below 40 cycles a second. We're just going to use that number. And then another one that kills off anything that's like 70 cycles a second or higher. So that'll be your normal AC power signals for Britain or the United States. Or you could make it, if you dare, have a higher Q factor and be a resonant type circuit where it will not only filter out anything that isn't exactly 60 or 50 cycles a second, it will actually force it to be much more stable because maybe you have power lines in the area that are giving you bad AC. That happens when you have, quote, low quality power, when the power grid in the area is being really stressed by a lot of people using it. Usually it's an industrial plant or a, some very large business park or whatever. Power signals coming into your home can have, lag and lead on a capacitive or inductive effect on the system. That all sounds like gobbledygook, but what it means is that it's not really clean, pure sine wave signal sometimes. So by using these filters, number one, it gets rid of any noises up and above or below the frequency, and it allows it to get through with a more properly shaped sine wave to where it won't create any overtones or undertones. Or harmonics. Now, using the magic word harmonic, somebody's going to start typing cat-like below. Now, what have I just explained? It's a power conditioner for your house. You can get them relatively cheap. The ones that can handle just being notch filters are really, really, really cheap. They can be put in legally and safely by a technician, or you can just plug them into the power plug. And I mean the power plug in your house. There is at least one in most American homes, a power plug that has both legs of the power signal coming in, and it'll be the AC 220 line where it has both legs of the 120 line with a neutral in the middle. And you can get a circuit that will only kill off signals that are above or below the right frequencies. And they're very broad. They're not something with a high Q rating where they'll start resonating and maybe have a power problem. They're very safe, and you can find them in your area unless your city, county, or state has made it to where they're not available because maybe some company put out bad quality ones, so they just banned them just completely did it. But most areas you can get this. Also, just putting one on any circuit in your house will usually kill off the noise on all of them. I want to point out that this might interfere with smart meters and smart equipment that might be taking advantage of the power line as a way to communicate. Now, I just spent 4 minutes explaining one filter. Now, here's what else it'll do. It would get rid of the radio signals that might be crawling along the power line, neutral line, ground line, that people mythologize about or evangelicize on the internet whenever you're looking up this subject. Now, the first thing someone's going to say is, oh, well, are you using electrolytics or ceramics? Or are you using, and then they'll bring up woo-woo peddling bullshit. They're just the signal chokes and capacitors and stuff that we use to make sure the power lines work. 90% of you who have a computer of any kind plugged in, it already has an RF filter network built into it to get rid of radio frequency noise because that would screw the computer up. if it wasn't there. Also, a lot of you might have had power strips that had this. Some of the older ones, they do the same thing. Just plugging it in passively will work. You don't have to run electricity through it. And some of you might be in a building where they put in a signal conditioner. But the other thing about this that some of you might not realize is that the big transformer outside, whether it's one on the ground that's in a metal box or up on a telephone pole called a pole pig, it's also a radio frequency filter. And immediately someone is going to go completely ballistic because I just told you you don't have to spend any money. You probably already have a filtered power line. It may still have some wonky signals once in a while, but for the most part, it's going to be an AC signal. It's symmetrical unless you overload it or your neighbor does. And it's not going to produce any RF noises or any kind of noise at all. This can be tested if you want to by having a qualified technician, only a qualified technician, literally take the 120 volt line signal and put it through various type of filters into an amplifier. The filters don't filter out noise. They let you hear it. And you can hear whether or not it's a steady hum. Now, that was 6 minutes of your life that I hope I didn't waste. What about all the other things? Well, I'm worried about 5G, blah, blah, blah. Here's how to shield your house. Bug screen. I've done videos on this before, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take advantage of Airestech or Airestech Lifetune Flex amulets and stickers and stuff. What is a Faraday cage? A Faraday cage is when you surround something with a continuous conductive surface where it doesn't have any breaks or openings in it that are any larger than the wavelength you're trying to filter. If you're obviously worried about 5G, we're just going to call it 5G stuff. It's 1 to 2 gigahertz range or something like that. Then you want the holes, if there are going to be any, to be really tiny. Well, you can use insect screen to clear it out. Someone will immediately state for mathematical reasons it won't work because, and then they'll insert something. Or they'll say because it's not welded wire mesh, it won't work. This is bullshit. You can line your house with this stuff and put in bug screen-based window coverings. They're literally insect screens. You just fit them into your window. And you won't be able to use your cell phone in the building. The Wi-Fi you can use inside won't leak outside. It's really simple. You can actually get away with, if you own the property, putting in a metallized bug screen that is compatible with being painted. It has to tolerate latex paint. You can put this on the inside or the outside of your house, paint over it so it has kind of a cloth texture to where it looks like, some sort of expensive wallpaper or wall covering, and just paint over it, and that'll act as a filter as well. And it will work really well to the point you want to remove it because suddenly a bunch of shit stops working, because that's what the effect of really filtering radio frequency noise or pollution or whatever you want to call it is. Stuff stops working because it relies on the ability to communicate that way. Stuff in your home will be able to bounce signals off your Bluetooth and stuff like that will be able to work, but stuff from outside the building can't get in and stuff inside the building can't get out. Now, what do I base this on? Locking down a building so people can't spy on the people inside working on computers doing a project. That's what I did for a living at one time. I actually know what I'm talking about. You can also do the same thing if you're making a ham radio station testing area, and it'll be adequate. It won't actually be the kind that's needed for full certification for being a test lab, but that's not what you're going for. Yes, someone's going to scream that you can do that, but only if you give them $200. I'm telling you to do it for $50, a bug screen, or literally a plug-in device you can buy that you probably already own. And again, I'm going to repeat this. 90% of what you might have looked up that's dangerous or you perceive as dangerous or problematic is already being killed off in your home as much as possible. Unless you're sitting next to a radio transceiver, a hardcore one, over 1,000 watts, you're not experiencing these noises. So now we're going to get to the last part of it, placebo effect. You can worry yourself literally to death. You can also, even if you are dying from something, decide the last year of your life is going to be the best one you can possibly make it, and just make yourself stop experiencing symptoms. In many cases, people have done this by sheer force of will until they're no longer with us, simply because they've chosen to spend the last part of their life, the last year of their life, not dealing with it. Just, I'm going to find things to distract myself from the pain or the worry and enjoy my life as much as they can. And they spend the last year of their life enjoying themselves by liquidating everything and giving things away to family members or friends. they're still dying from cancer or whatever, but they just decide they're going to make it to where everything that was making them miserable, they're just going to force to the side and keep going. I'm not saying you and I can do that. I don't think I can. But I do know I worried myself to the point that I almost had to be hospitalized because I was so depressed. That actually is a real thing. That was from a very horrible year with a lot of crap happening. Yes, it was worse than what happened with the thing we're not allowed to talk about that happened in 2019 till 2023 or whatever, or whenever it was supposed to have ended, whenever it was announced. Mission accomplished, when we were no longer dealing with the thing we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. But yeah, the placebo effect isn't something to ignore. You can harness your own body and mind's ability to just kind of push past symptoms and go on sometimes. I don't know that it lasts very long. For me, it lasts a while. And everyone's experienced, either themselves or someone else you've met, making themselves miserable when there's nothing medically wrong with them. And in most cases, they're able to acknowledge it. They're just literally depressed because life has kicked them too much. But it's them doing it to themselves, and you know that. So, yeah, if you decide that carrying something in your wallet or around your neck as an amulet is going to make all of your anxieties and problems go away, and it does, great. But please don't spend a ton of money on it. Next, literally none of the equipment that claims to do any kind of radio frequency filtering or 5G protection has ever been tested to be effective. The easiest test is if you put it in the presence of a cell phone, does it immediately destroy its ability to work? But that's not its purpose. I don't want to hear it. If it's cleaning up anything in that frequency range by making it zero out, the cell phone will stop working. It won't receive signals. It'll say it has no bars. It'll say it has no transceivers in the area. It can't find a cell phone antenna anywhere. That's a simple test. And the ones that do this are jammers that make more noise or act as a man-in-the-middle attack, and basically you're violating FCC rules because you're jamming everybody's cell phone in the area. The point I'm making here is if something was sold with the claims that are stated, it would interfere with people who don't want to have their cell phones jammed, which means it would immediately violate FCC laws and who knows what else. Or it would overpower the signals and jam a lot more. Again, if you want to shield your house, actually shield it. If you want to get rid of RF noise, get filters to get rid of it. These are things that are readily available, and some of them are ridiculously cheap. Talk to a ham group in your area, ham operators, radio frequency geeks. Ask them how to do it, and have them critique the video. A ham operator might critique me and say I'm wrong about some stuff, but I have done this, and what I used wasn't actually bug screen. It's a metallized plastic grid. It's the same thing. It's slightly more expensive because it's guaranteed to work even if you put paint over it. But it's only slightly more expensive. And it is available on the internet. And it's just simply made, it just happens to be able to work for this. It just has to block it enough to get it to where it isn't going to interfere when I'm testing something with an oscilloscope. That's what I used it for. Obviously, if it can turn off the noise from an AM transmitter that's hundreds of thousands of watts that's like a mile away, it's going to be able to work for you for this kind of stuff. Yeah, that was AM radio. That was really weird that I had to do that kind of job. But you can do these sorts of things, and you don't have to pay for them. And again, most of you already have this filtering happening now, which means all you're going to be doing is wasting your money. And that's a real reason someone will flag this video. Not because I'm telling you that somebody's lying to you or selling you garbage or it's snake oil, but because I'm telling you you don't have to spend the money in the first place, because if you actually check, you're probably already being protected. So much RF proofing and EMP proofing has been built into the systems these days that you don't need to do any of them. Yes, I said EMP. Your car is probably EMP proofed by accident. Same thing with most of the stuff you own, including your cell phone. The mythology in movies and TV and on the internet is bullshit. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. I hope this has been useful to some of you.